My name is Lyle Murphy, the founder of the Alternative to Med Center, a place where we have for the last 17 years, as of this video, helped people withdraw off of all types of psychiatric medication, including Paxil. And this video is about the long-term effects of Paxil. First question is, what are the long-term side effects of Paxil? Well, the most common effects, somnolence, nausea, headache, and sweating. But for many people, taking this medication for a long time, especially when they're trying to come off of it, having brain zaps, having irretractable crying jags, having other sort of like weird aesthetic feelings, throughout their body, is pretty indicative that there are some long-term neurological changes that are happening in response to a medication like Paxil. The next question would be, how long can you stay on Paxil? Well, by conservative jargons, the medication is supposed to be used maybe for 6 to 9 months for a first-time major depressive episode. However, if you're having multiple depressive episodes during that time, then up to 2 years. But there's really not anything out there that's saying that these medications are really effective for long-term after that. Now, granted, I'm biased, right? People don't call me or the center up saying, hey, I've been on my medication for 30 years and that medication is working just great. Sometimes I hear that on my YouTube videos, little comments that people make. But by and large, people are calling us when these medications have not only not helped them, but have turned tail and made things much worse. So that's the segment of the population I see. That's my lens. And I would strongly suggest that anybody that's starting a medication like Paxil for an emergent crisis, maybe at that time in their life, they couldn't change their lifestyle. Maybe they couldn't get to the gym. Maybe the marriage or the loss that they went through was just so, that they had to do something. That person should immediately start looking for other ways to combat those symptoms and tune up their physiology to the place where their own natural neurochemistry can start working. A lot of times that involves diet. They want us to change their diet, right? Well, I don't know. Hopefully, people who don't want to be altered by medications for life. Exercising, getting to the gym. Moving your body has a lot to do with what goes on in here as well. And getting a therapist, taking some tryptophan or other holistic methods should immediately be pursued in tandem with taking these medications so that you don't have to take the medications as long and you can actually go to the root of why you ended up on these medications in the first place. Next question, what does Paxil do to your brain? Well, Paxil is one of the most potent serotonin reuptake inhibitors that there is. It's very fast. It's pretty much speciated to serotonin. And what it does, I'm sure you guys have either all seen the commercials or know a little bit something about this. There's like a game of catch in your nervous system. Here's the originating axon that lets go of serotonin. It's holding it in these vesicles. And over here on the other side of the synapse is the receptors. So it looks something like that. We've probably all seen that before. So serotonin comes out, hits these receptors transmit, they inhibit the transmission of a excitatory impulse. So they kind of buffer that. Then once that's been achieved, the vesicles suck the serotonin back up so that it can be used again. It's like a game of catch. I throw the ball to you, you throw the ball back to me, I catch it, I can throw it to you again. Well, what happens is when you force that serotonin to stay out here in the nerve space, what happens is it just it degrades into metabolites, then there's no serotonin left. So the long-term effect is, you might be getting this short-term boost of serotonin, but at what cost? Actually depleting your serotonin so that there's nothing left to reuptake. And when there's nothing left to reuptake, not only is the medication not going to work, but nothing's going to work. You're going to be in a place where you really do have a problem. Next question, what are the dangers of taking Paxil? Well, certainly anything that looks like a allergic reaction, if you're getting muscle stiffness, difficulty breathing, lack of coordination, dizziness, mental confusion, those are some pretty serious signs. But more commonly, sweating, nausea, dry mouth, constipation, decreased appetite, somnolence, which just means like, I'm just so tremor, a lot of libido problems, a lot of sexual side effects with these type of drugs, yawning, abnormal ejaculation, and female genital disorders and impotence, men's genitals as well. Next question, does Paxil change your personality? Well, anything that is altering your neurochemistry is going to change your personality. It's not going to necessarily change you from a good, ethical, loving person to suddenly being demonstrably evil. I mean, it has happened, but it's not very common. Any more than alcohol doesn't necessarily change you from being a very good-hearted person to being demonstrably evil. It does that in some people, though. So it can happen, but if you're lessening your anxiety, or you're getting better sleep, or you're more agitated because of the medication, or you're just sort of flat in your affect, you're just kind of fuzzy in the way that you perceive emotions, those are changes in your personality. And you can definitely expect that you're going to have some changes with a medication like this. Some people feel nothing, but most people are going to feel that there has been something that has changed just who they are. They may not recognize who they are for a while. Next question is, what is better than Paxil for anxiety? Well, on the front end, for a limited time, Paxil may be very potent in helping relieve someone's anxiety. But then you exhaust the serotonin and the anxiety can be compoundedly worse. Now, a better long-term strategy might be using amino acid precursor called tryptophan in order to naturally boost the amount of available serotonin you have. So the better the game of catch, you just have more balls to throw back and forth. Things that can block your serotonin synthesis, one of the major things is mercury. If a person is constantly ruminating, fight or flight thoughts, they're having problems sleeping because remember, serotonin does make melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, and they have anxiety, and it feels like it's not something that comes and goes. It's not like, oh, it's here today and it's not here today, or it has any sort of changes throughout the day. It might get a little better or worse, but there's like this background roar in their nervous system, like they're standing in the middle of a freeway and there's like somebody screeching brake like inside their head. That type of excitotoxicity in the nervous system, that definitely leads to the notion that there might be some neurochemical poisoning, and mercury is a very potent neurochemical inhibitor for the synthesis of serotonin. So getting some of that out through chelation or other means, maybe getting your fillings removed, limiting the amount of mercury you're taking in from farm-raised fish, such as salmon especially. They don't have the ability to really clear that mercury, so they concentrate it. Large fish like tuna and swordfish, those things probably need to go. If you're eating farm-raised fish sushi all the time and you're having those type of symptoms, that's probably why. Next question is Paxil linked to dementia? Yes, actually, in the elderly population, there is a time-dependent, how long you've been taking the medication, increase in the amount of dementia among depressed elderly patients in nursing homes. Next question, will Paxil make you gain weight? Paxil is one of the antidepressants that is associated with weight gain. In approximately 25% of the population, you can expect up to a 10-pound increase by taking Paxil. Next question, is Paxil an addictive drug? I mean, if you're having neurochemical changes to the receptors in the synapses in response to a drug, where if you stop that drug, you have withdrawal symptoms that keep you from being able to stop that drug, you can't tolerate the withdrawal symptoms, so you have to reinstate the drug, I would consider that addictive. It may not be a I just got high off of that thing, kind of pleasurable fulfillment of an addiction. It's more of a I need to get myself out of hell by continuing to take this medication type of withdrawal. So my definition would be yes. I don't think that the National Institute of Drug Awareness or those people would tend to agree with that definition. Next question, is Paxil considered an opiate or an opioid? No, it is not. It is not associated with the opiate class of medications. However, there are some similarities. So endorphins and enkephalins are inhibitory type of neurochemicals. Enkephalins inhibit the amount of pain you pick up. Endorphins limit the amount of emotional transmission you pick up from other people, so they are inhibitory. Serotonin is inhibitory neurochemical, inhibitory in a different way. It inhibits ruminating thoughts. It inhibits impulsive behaviors. It helps you get sleep. It helps lessen anxiety. So it kind of has the same, it's like in the same kind of color palette, but it's not the same color as an opiate. That makes sense. Next question, can Paxil make you angry? People that have started or stopped antidepressants have, done horrible things like shut up schools and stuff. That's not the typical response. To get angry from an SSRI, that would be considered a paradoxical reaction. In other words, it's a completely opposite reaction as to what most people have. In most people, you're going to see that a drug like Paxil actually puts a bit of a space between them and the impulsive acting on anger impulses. Now, albeit that effect might be short-term as long as the drug lasts before it burns out serotonin, but anything that's increasing serotonin, whether it's a drug or the natural precursors, is probably going to give a bit of distance between you and anger flashes. Next question, can Paxil cause brain zaps? It can. It's more likely that Paxil is going to cause brain zaps coming off the medication. What happens when you're coming off of Paxil, there is a time before your body can readjust to being without the medication that you can go into a serotonin plunge. Serotonin, well, explain how the nervous system works a little bit. In order for a nerve transmission to pass from this nerve across the synapse to another nerve, there has to be a certain amount of voltage that happens across, millivoltage really, that happens across those nerves. So in order for that to happen, basically there's chemicals and sodium influxes and things that drops the amount of resistance to that nervous transmission. So there's certain drugs like acetylcholine and glutamate that make that transmission more likely. So they stimulate the dropping of the resistance so that there is conduction from one nerve to the next. A neurochemical like serotonin actually puts a little bit of a glove on that. It makes it less likely that there is going to be destimulation of that neuron so that there is transmission that's happening across that synapse. So when you lose that inhibitory control, when you go into a serotonin plunge, now you just have this random firing that's happening in the nervous system because things are depolarizing in very chaotic ways. That's what I think the brain zaps are. They're just having neurological depolarization that feels very disconcerting. Now, certain researchers and professionals believe that these brain zaps are not damaging, but I don't know. It's kind of like saying that having the circuit board on your computer zapping is not dangerous to your computer. I don't necessarily believe it. The brain is a very sensitive organ, and having like unstructured, zapping happening in your body is probably not the best thing. If you're having that happen because of being on the medication, you need to talk to a prescriber. And if you're having that happen coming off the medication, you're probably going too fast. You need to slow it down, and or you need to maybe implement the use of tryptophan only for the duration of time that you're withdrawing. You don't want to do both the tryptophan and the antidepressant for too long together. They can actually combine and give you too much serotonin. It's called serotonin syndrome. But basically, if you're having the brain zaps, you're probably in a serotonin plunge, and you need to, be strategic on how to address that. Next question. Does Paxil make you lazy? Well, anything that increases your parasympathetic state, your feed or breathe and just kind of chill, your non-fight or flight sort of nervous system, it can make you a bit more sluggish. Now, it can happen the other way in some people. Sometimes these antidepressants will give people more motivation. But for most people, it's probably going to make you just feel a little fuzzy, a little less active, and a little bit more inclined to stay inside and watch some Netflix videos all day and maybe even not go to work. Next question. Who should not take Paxil? Well, it has been contraindicated by black box warning, which is the highest level of warning that the FDA gives on a medication for children under 25. It is found that these medications actually can increase the chance of suicide in this population. Ask me why the cutoff is 25 and not for people that are 26. I don't know. It seems like it would affect people in similar ways. There is this inhibition that has happened because of these medications. There are people who have done terrible things to their family and didn't even remember after starting medication like this. But it's not very common. The women who take this antidepressant during pregnancy have an increased chance of giving birth to a baby that has autism and other birth defects. Next question, what happens if you take Paxil and you don't need it? Well, this one got me thinking a little bit, and I actually went online to just see what other people were saying, and I found this fellow by the name of Mark Dunn on Quora, of all places, that said a very snappy thing I thought I would use. It says the same thing as taking alcohol when you don't need it, so to speak. Like, basically, it's going to have an effect on you regardless of whether you need the medication or you're serotonin deficient or not. It's altering your physiology. That alteration of your physiology is going to have an effect, just like taking LSD or alcohol when you don't need it is going to have an effect on your physiology and how you experience life. And that brings us to the end of our questions on Paxil. I do hope that you share this video to people who may need it. And if you're having trouble finding a prescriber that can help you withdraw your medication, we are here at Alternative to Med Center to help assist you with that process. Feel free to call us. But please, before you change your medications based upon something you saw in a video, either talk to us or talk to your home prescriber if you trust them to help navigate you through this and reduce medications if that's what you so choose. Thank you and have a good day or night.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. For information about Alternative to Med Center, give us a call at 888-984-9667.